Da 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 da. Ready to go. Hello, everyone. As we said yesterday, we definitely are going to have several songs from the Bandwagon in our head today. That was our movie from last night. But hello, everyone. Welcome to the Book Club for Movies. Amy and Samir here. It is Tuesday, March 9th. We will be talking about director Terrence Malick today. But before we get into that, yesterday we talked about the wonderful Fred Astaire, and we focused on the 1953 MGM musical directed by Vincent Minnelli, The Bandwagon. Oh boy, one of our favorites. What was it like revisiting this for you? And if this is your first time watching, really quick, say hello. We love comments. If you've seen The Bandwagon, let us know. If you're like, I hate The Bandwagon, let us know. We need to have good reason to back it up.
We like having conversations. This movie is considered like possibly the pinnacle of what the musical form was capable of at that studio at this time. It really gets everything. I think it's very much the equal of Singing in the Rain. I would never rank one above the other because it's just unfair to both movies. I think this is as great as that movie because it also attempts to approach the subject of the creative spirit. So, you know, in Singing in the Rain, it's very much specifically the movies and, you know, the illusion of movies and real life. And so there's a lot of like really brilliant things happening in that theme in that movie. And this one is almost sort of like, as one critic I was reading called it, a meditation on the debate between high art and pop art. And where does Vincent Minnelli come down? And there's almost an autobiographical aspect to the film here as well, where the artistic director who directs, stars in, and writes his own plays, was it Joseph Cordoba or something Cordoba? I can't remember his first name. Jeffrey Cordoba, you know, so there's them, and then the team that's writing the play that's very much like that's Condon and Green. And, you know, and so you kind of get those kind of roles in it. But it's like pretty much the debate that's at the center of Vincent Minnelli's films altogether, in a way, because there's, you know, is he elevating pop art to high art, or is pop art high art by itself? You know, is he being pretentious by trying to add artistic value to every, you know, element of a film? I think they fought, you know, in the end, they kind of fall a little bit more on the side of pop art versus high art. But in the end, I also think they acknowledge that Vincent Minnelli is really great at combining those things into one in these movies, because there's just so many amazing sequences in this film that you can just break down visually if you really wanted to, but just the pure enjoyment of the film is never lacking for me. And I found even a bunch of little things that reminded me of other musicals that were to come after this movie. So for instance, they talk about, you know, this, remember how they're talking about the play? They're like, oh, we got this idea and there's going to be like a softball team and someone's done this and they feel like they've almost made a deal with the devil. And I'm like, that sounds familiar. I'm like, oh yeah, Damn Yankees would come out 2 years after this movie, which is basically baseball version of Faust in the modern day. So I'm like, oh, I wonder if somebody heard something there and was inspired. There's that moment.
Condon and Green that wrote that?
Yes, I think so. I can't remember who wrote that musical, but look it up because it's interesting. It's so, I'm like, okay, there's a very specific reference to a show that's not out yet. And then they, when they're riding in the carriage, when Sid Charisse and Fred Astaire are riding in the carriage and they're talking, they're like, oh, look at a tree. Like there's trees and like, oh, look, and there's grass and look, there's the sky. And they say, you know, this has all been here while we've been shut up inside our little sweat box known as the arts. That very idea, even those words, become a song in a Stephen Sondheim musical he does for TV in the late 60s. And the song is called I Remember. And they say, I remember sky, I remember trees, I remember, you know, it's like someone who's been shut in their whole life in this shopping mall and their memories of the outside world are, she can only reference them through things she now knows in the world she lives in inside the mall. So it's like, I remember trees spread like coat racks, bare like open umbrellas, you know, like all the lines are like that. But I'm like, okay, that's a very distinct bit of dialogue that is very almost perfectly quoted in this song 15 years later. And then the fact that he has to sell one of his paintings to keep the show going towards the end. I don't know if you ever saw the show Smash. Did you ever watch it? I loved it. It was a TV series. It was a musical TV series, and it had a lot of big, musical talents from Broadway. It even had Leslie Odom Jr. before he was in Hamilton was in that show. And there's a part of that show where Angelica Houston's character as a producer is trying to put this musical up about Marilyn Monroe because it's her lifelong passion, and she's going through a divorce and she doesn't have the money to do it. And so the one thing she has of value is a Degas painting that she sells so that she can fund the show, which is how this show itself. So I'm like, there's a lot of people in the musical theater world who I think got a lot of inspiration from just this movie. And then when you watch it again, you can understand why. But when I was watching it this time, I kept picking up on all these things that like other musicals have done that sort of have a source in this movie. And I was kind of amazed by all of that. But still, joy was the primary objective of watching this film. And I got all of that.
Before my comments, I just want to say hello to Alicia over here. Thank you for commenting first time. Again, if it's your first time watching us, please let us know. Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do understand your comparison to Singing in the Rain. There are a lot of similarities. I think you know which one I would pick is which one's my favorite.
I know. You're very much more devoted to the, like, definitely one thing is superior to everything, and I'm much more that I can never say that about any work of art.
But, I mean, there really are a lot of similarities, even down to some of the cast members. I mean, right at the very beginning, there was this auction where they're auctioning off Fred Astaire's character's top hat, and that's this crazy director who's in Singing in the Rain, the one who freaks out several times. Sid Charisse, of course, being in Singing in the Rain, once again looking fabulous in sequins. In Singing in the Rain, she's in this emerald green. One of her big moments in this movie, I mean, she has a bigger part in this, is when she has, like, she takes the coat off and she's wearing this dazzling, like, ruby red sequined outfit as well.
But also the emerald, the green emerald that her character wears in that ballet.
The aspect to it is very similar to Singing in the Rain as well. In the Broadway melody sequence. But it's every time Fred Astaire and Sid Charisse were dancing together, it was, and of course we've talked about Fred Astaire yesterday, not Sid Charisse. It was really hard for me to not watch Sid Charisse. Like, I had to remind myself, like, oh yeah, like, look, watch Fred Astaire, because she's just like so dazzling and everything she does, this like ballerina. So whenever it was the two of them together, I really had to be like, okay, look at Fred Astaire, because she was just so amazing. And apparently yesterday was her birthday. Which I saw.
Really?
One of the Instagram accounts we follow, and ours is like this is old Hollywood or something, or this is Hollywood, and they had all these little clips of her dancing, a few of which were Bandwagon, and yesterday was her birthday, so good timing. Totally
right. Well, we watched it on her birthday. How wonderful! But it's, you can see even from this poster, like, there's a level of support that a male dancer with Sid Charisse seems to always have to provide, so that she usually outshines her male partner. I mean, even that scene in Singing in the Rain, like Gene Kelly is like nerdy character. He's like, fresh off the bus in, Broadway kind of thing. And she's very much like the dominant person in that dance, because she's like this jewel, and she only gets that one scene. So it was nice to see her in, like, have a full character to play, and you got to see her do different kinds of dancing. So, like, I had never really, until this movie, I don't think anyone had seen her really doing just ballet at any moment, like, so they actually, first of all, I loved that stage where she does that scene where they see her at the ballet in the theater, and I'm like, this is a classic Minnelli visual, but it's like, you could stare at that backdrop on that stage for so long and just get lost in it. It was so beautiful. But and that's just one random thing you see for a couple minutes in the movie, and it was, can you imagine how much time it took just to make that?
The sets in this movie were also amazing. Even like the Oedipus sets of like these amazing red, like some of the things I was looking at, I was just amazed. It's like, is some of this stuff painted, or is this lighting on, just, I don't know, Really
combination of both. Definitely, I think lighting played a lot of factor in the colors on the stage in some way, but we didn't really see them outside of the light because we just saw that one part of that performance. Oh, and hello to Joanne. Thank you for joining us. And Owen, nice to see you back. And of course, Luke is always here. Forgot to say hello to everybody. I know we're a few minutes late on that, but I still want to make sure I get that in. But yeah, I don't know. Vincent Minnelli's just a master with color on screen. We've seen it time and time again in all of his films. He knows how to use color on screen in a really brilliant way. And I thought it was hilarious when we do finally get the show as it's supposed to be. It's like all these random numbers, and I'm like, how do these fit into one show? Like, I don't know how Louisiana Hayride fits into the Faust. So, like, they just completely abandoned the story of that show at the end just so you can see the numbers.
It's like the girl, is it Girl Crazy? Is that the last thing?
Girl Hunt Ballet.
Girl Hunt, yeah. It's like, okay, that's it? Are there only 4 numbers in this whole show?
They really cut that down, but I guess they didn't have time to show us more of the story of their rehashing of it. Yeah. I forgot also, I love that scene where after the first preview performance that's been a flop, I love that moment where like they open the doors and it's like a death march coming out of the theater, and then no one's at the party, and then they go to like where all the cast are just like letting off steam together in the hotel, and then Fred Astaire joins them and he's telling them stories, and then Sid Charisse joins them, and I love the beer song. I totally forgot about the beer song. And we didn't even talk, I forgot even to warn people about the awesomeness of the Triplets number, which I
wish I had a gun, a little gun. Two and be only one. That song cracks me up every single time. I mean, I've seen this movie so many times. I had so many laugh out loud moments too, like the part where Jeffrey Cordova is talking to the potential backers and he's selling this story, and everyone else has no idea how serious he's going to take this whole Faust element, and they keep peeking into the room, and and he's being all dramatic, just like, yeah, they're like, this is supposed to be a fun, light musical. He's like screaming, it's like, the devil.
Oh my god, so good. Like, I had the exact same. I'd forgotten how many times I actually would laugh out loud. No emoji needed to express that. No. It's such everything about this movie just works perfectly for me. Like, I really do sort of float along on a really, like a cloud watching it. And Fred Astaire is completely essential to that, because there's something about his eyes too when he wants to look sad. It just, I just melt a little bit. I always, like, you feel sad for him. If he all has to do is like give you a puppy dog look, he like has mastered that. But I just love his smoothness and elegance and the fluidity, and there's a self-deprecating humor that he possesses that he brought to the role too. Normally I usually am kind of creeped out when they always make a way for an older man to have a young, pretty partner, but the way that relationship developed in the movie between him and Sid Charisse, just it felt emotionally sincere. And at the end when she's speaking for the cast and really speaking for herself at the same time, and he kind of understands that. I just thought that was such a beautiful moment for both of them. But I forgot to mention also that Triplets number apparently was really painful for them to film.
Yeah,
because they did it just with like their legs bent up, so their knees are what are like hitting the ground. Like, basically, they have them padded, and then there's the shoes attached to the pads underneath it, which you can kind of notice. But it's like, I heard that it was there was like a lot of cuts, bleeding, severe swelling, and severe pain to make that number. And when you're seeing it, they're like,
he was in his 50s at that point. I don't know how old was it. Jack
Buchanan, who plays Jeffrey Cordova.
I don't know how old. He's probably around the same age, and here they are doing this crazy dance on their knees.
But you don't see the pain in their face. I'm amazed every time I watch it that they can do that number, and like they can keep the the musical theater smiles going the whole time and still playing these characters. Well, I mean, can you imagine the second they're like, cut? Oh my god.
Yeah, and I was trying to keep aware this time of just how long some of these cuts or these shots were with his dancing. That was something we talked about yesterday, where Fred Astaire, that was something that he kind of put into play there, of wanting these really long takes of him dancing and having the camera move with him. So they would, but there'd be minutes without a cut for some of these dance sequences. But we can talk about this movie all day. If you haven't seen this movie, classic, fabulous MGM musical with Fred Astaire and Sid Charisse. It's available to rent. If you're interested in watching other Fred Astaire films, there are a few other of his films that are on the TCM app right now, or they might be on demand if you have a cable provider.
Like Easter Parade.
Easter Parade is another one of our favorites. Yes, and with Easter creeping up, that's always one that I watch with Judy Garland too. Just wonderful. Wonderful.
Do you have a good Easter hat to wear while you're watching it?
Maybe. But yeah, check it out. Check out the Bandwagon. Let's move on, though, to today's main event, Mr. Terrence Malick. First off, not a whole lot of photos to choose from for him.
He looks kind of like Brian De Palma meets Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, he does not really like press. I don't think he's probably ever done a photo shoot in his life. He doesn't really like doing interviews. He's a pretty private guy. So slim pickings for photos for him. And I realized too, it's like I've seen several of his films, but I realized this morning when I was looking him up, I thought, I don't even know what he looks like. Like this
when you said
slapped me in the face, and I would not know it was Terrence Malick.
I can't remember if you said. I don't know if you sent me something, and I'm like, where is he? And you're like, oh, that wasn't him. That was another clip I sent. And I'm like, this is a picture of Colin Farrell. Is this your way of saying there are no pictures of Terrence Malick? But seriously, when you put this picture up, I'm like, why is Brian De Palma there? It's not Brian De Palma.
Owen here says looks a little bit like Rob Reiner. Yeah, I could see some Rob Reiner vibes.
Oh, okay, I can see that too.
Yeah, but Terrence Malick, maybe a mysterious man, but certainly a well-known and celebrated filmmaker. He was born Terrence Frederick Malick. He was born in Illinois. Someone here just said that he was from Waco. Maybe he went there at some point. But he was born in Illinois. He went to Harvard and got a BA in philosophy. He taught at MIT for a little bit. He was teaching philosophy there, and then I guess decided that wasn't for him. And then he went to AFI when AFI was pretty new, and got interested in film. Right off the bat, his first film, Badlands, in the early 1970s, that came out, and that is still one of his big. What was the exact year that movie came out?
Badlands, I think it was 72 or 73.
Okay, I think it's
71.
Right front here. Before that, he did a lot of freelance work revising scripts. He worked on things like Dirty Harry, among other things. And I think he was kind of frustrated with some of his scripts being turned into things that he didn't want. So he's like, well, I'm going to write them and direct them myself. He has, speaking of Michelangelo here is bringing up some semi-autobiographical things with his stories. He had a tragedy happen with his younger brother. His younger brother ended up committing suicide, and that's something that is brought up in a couple of his films. But right off the bat, he made Badlands, he made Days of Heaven in the 70s, and then he didn't direct another film for 20 years. I don't know.
Kind of like the American Carl Dreyer.
Yeah. He's just like, okay, I'm just gonna take a little break. Yeah, and he didn't. I wonder if he wrote during that time. Nope, didn't even do that. Yeah. But when he came back in 1998, he came back with Days of Heaven. I'm sorry, not that one. It was one from the 70s. The Thin Red Line. He came back with a Thin Red Line, instantly, like, huge hit, nominated for things. And he's been pretty productive since then, coming out with a new film every few years, also writing these same films. He's done documentaries. He's in post-production on a movie right now. So, yeah. His films are really known for having this, like, beautiful lyrical quality to them. The cinematography is always fantastic. Some people criticize his films because of that. They're always like, well, they're really beautiful, but the plot's a little lacking.
Well, I mean, do you argue that the plot is perhaps not the primary focus of Terrence Malick's filmmaking sometimes?
I don't really think so. I just think it's different. I think, but his films certainly are known for being these beautiful things. I mean, the New World, case in point, or pick for today. People have been mentioning the Tree of Life. He picks some great cinematographers to work with too.
Well, that also helps. But I would say, like, I think in movies like, when you see something like Badlands and The Thin Red Line, like there is definitely a plot. Like, there is a story, but I do think that the way he constructs his stories is not according to traditional linear narrative tropes. There's, he sees the story in a different way, and the film reflects that. So for people who don't see movies his way, it can appear like he's not telling a story. I do think Tree of Life is a little bit more all over the place in terms of plot. It doesn't really have a direct, specific, like, plot-based story, but films have stories of their own that are not necessarily based around just a plot. One of my favorite filmmakers is another Terrence. His name is Terrence Davies, and he's British, and his films, they're like non-narrative features, but there is a central story that movie is about in a more, quote, philosophical sense, which I think ties into, like, when you told me that he majored in philosophy, I'm like, oh, that explains everything.
Yeah. It really does. It really does. And a lot of his films do cover kind of philosophical topics as well. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen quite a few of his films. I haven't seen all of him. The next things that he has coming up. Oh, he has a documentary that he did on what's his name? That rapper.
That rapper?
No. Forgetting his name. Yeah, but he's done a lot of awesome films. He himself has been nominated for 3 Oscars for The Thin Red Line and for The Tree of Life. He was nominated for Best Director for that. The movie we've selected for today is The New World. This is a favorite of mine. I mean, mostly because Colin Farrell's in this. Let's just be honest with that. But this is going to be directed by Terrence Malick. The cinematography. The only thing that this movie was nominated for at the Oscars was best cinematography, with Emmanuel Lubezki, who has won 3 Oscars on his own.
And we actually talked about him
many times.
He photographed one of our other absolute all-time favorite movies and didn't win for that because he'd won the previous 3.
Yes, and actually, for Emmanuel Lubezki fans, Thursday's film is another one that he did and was nominated for. So we're getting 2. We didn't plan that.
It just happened.
Life works out that way. But this movie, The New World, apparently Terrence Malick had ideas of doing this film going all the way back to the 1970s. But it's a Pocahontas story, the story of the English exploration of Virginia and of the changing world and loves of Pocahontas, starring my absolute favorite, Colin Farrell. I can never pronounce her name, but Pocahontas is played by Coronika Kilcher? Probably really butchered her name. She was like 15 when they filmed this. Her first kiss in life was with Colin Farrell, and I will forever hate her for that.
Well, lucky her, I guess.
Yeah, and then her second kiss was Christian Bale, but I can't remember Colin Farrell.
You poor thing. You missed out.
The late, great Christopher Plummer. Christian Bale is in this, of course. I got to see this movie in theaters. I just think I was really just blown away by the visuals of this film. It made me want to go to Virginia. Nothing has ever possessed me to want to go to Virginia until watching.
Virginia is beautiful. I did not see it, centuries ago. It was probably even more beautiful then.
Yeah, now I don't know if they actually filmed in Virginia, but certainly somewhere in the U.S. But as far as I can tell, this is a fairly probably the most accurate Pocahontas story. I certainly don't think they, it's not like they're like, oh, here come the friendly British. Like,
well, I mean, that's not how it was even in the Disney movie Pocahontas, but
no.
they still managed to mangle the reality of the story significantly in that movie. And I haven't seen this movie, so I don't know how much closer to reality this movie really gets with that story. So this will all be new for me, because for some reason I missed this, and in my brain it didn't even get saved as a Terrence Malick movie in my brain. Like, I knew this movie existed, I knew about what it was about, but I'd never seen it, and I never realized that it was a Terrence Malick film.
Yeah,
so,
and as I mentioned yesterday, I've been trying to get Samir to watch this movie for months and months and months, and finally got it on the calendar. So he's forced to watch this movie. This movie, I think Walter mentioned it's on Pluto. I don't know if it's on Pluto right now, but he said that it kept sending him to a Japanese version of this movie. So I'm going to go ahead and say don't watch it on Pluto. You're going to have to pay to rent this. If possible, I'm not sure what the rental options are. I own this movie, naturally. I have the extended cut. This movie, the extended cut's like 3 hours long. There are like 3 versions of this film out there. There's a theatrical cut, there's the director's extended cut, and I'm not sure what the third one is. Maybe Criterion had a version with that. But you're going to have to pay to rent this. Get it in high definition. Watch it on your big screen. Be whisked away to the 1600s with Colin Farrell.
Check your video on demand services for any of your cable subscriptions. See if, like sometimes some of those will just have it. For maybe not on the streaming app, but there's Lydia.
There's Lydia.
So maybe not on the app that you would watch movies on, but it may be available like if you have cable and each of those networks offer video on demand. It may be one of the titles that's available there in that way, so don't give up on that. I'm wondering if it was a programming error from when you searched for The New World, and then when you went to Pluto, it took you to something else and it didn't connect the right movie to it. I'll find out. I don't know, but I didn't see it on there when we searched for it when we were planning this schedule. So maybe it was they tried to add it recently, and it just there was a problem with them doing that.
Usually, that would pop up on when I search for it on Apple TV. It'll say like, "Oh, play in Pluto," and I didn't see it on there today, so I would just go ahead and recommend. And even if it is on Pluto, it might have commercials, so pay the $3. It's already a long movie.
Roger, pay the $2.
Pay the $2.
My favorite moments from North by Northwest. Roger, pay the $2. But we do think about how much it costs to rent titles. So we do make the effort to pick movies that are on platforms. Sometimes we're movie lovers, and so we really wanted to go with movies that we love for each of these people. And so sometimes every now and then it turns out that there's a couple more rentals per week than we really want there to be. Someday when we can have real book club for movies parties, me or Amy will probably have the DVD for one of those movies, and you will never have to pay to watch them in those cases. But just for now, thank you for indulging us. Of course, if you know someone who has a DVD, just borrow it.
Exactly. Before we talk about the rest of or what we're going to be talking about tomorrow, a little bit of exciting news. If you have been looking for more ways to spend money, and if you're a fan of the book club for movies, do we have a treat for you? We now have merchandise. I'm going to hide me and Samir here. We've got merchandise now. I'm on Redbubble with some of my film crew videos and things like that. Then I thought, well, I'm just going to go ahead and throw this on here too, mostly because I wouldn't mind having a book club for movies coffee mug. Today I ordered a t-shirt and a coffee mug, but there are a lot of different things you can get this logo on. You can get a sweatshirt.
There's tank tops.
There are tank tops. There's stickers. There are pillows. You can get a tote bag. You can get a coffee mug. You can get a tumbler. You can get a magnet. Oh, that's right. I ordered a magnet too. I got a magnet. I got a coffee mug, and I got a t-shirt today.
Amy bought a ton of our own merch.
Yeah.
Today, so she can give us reviews.
Not ashamed. There are also a little bit different logo here. This is the silver edition, but they also come in, the shirts are in different colors too. Yeah, but just, I don't know, if you're interested, check it out. This is on Redbubble. You could either search for my name or just search for Book Club for Movies and it will pop up.
The temporary tattoos. Where are the temporary tattoos?
I don't think they have those. I don't think they have those, but look at the pillow. Look how adorable that is.
I knew. I do kind of want that pillow.
I know. I want, yeah. If anything, I put these on here for Samir myself.
So we could order our own merch just to remember this year-long journey through cinema that we did together.
Yeah, but so far I am my only customer for the merchandise. But
look, someone says I want your face on my coffee mug. Like, well, you can get our logo.
Yeah, if you do want my face, you have to get some of the my film crew videos.
The film crew merch has got.
Yeah, I think I do have a coffee mug option for that. But I definitely, I don't know, when it gets here, you'll definitely see me wearing my Book Club for Movies t-shirt. I'm excited. I mean, we've spent so much time doing this. It's something we don't know how much longer we're going to be doing this, at least through April. So we'll just, something to remember it by.
Yeah.
If you want some stuff, Redbubble. Look for search for my name or search for Book Club for Movies, and you'll see stuff on there. Yes. But for tonight, spend the $3, rent the New World.
The New World.
Tomorrow, we will be discussing the New World and then moving on to the next topic, which will be actress Sophia Loren.
Oh my!
Another old Hollywood great who's still kicking. She's still kicking. She's still making movies. We love her. It'll be one of our Patreon picks for tomorrow. Speaking of another way to give us money with Patreon,
Amy is just plugging everything today.
Oh, I gotta hustle. Okay, I don't have a job. This is my job. Learn how to get paid doing what you love, and you gotta hustle.
That's the dream.
If you're interested in contributing to our Patreon, the tiers start at only $2 a month. $2 and $5 are the ones that we're really plugging. You can cancel at any time. We really appreciate it. It all really adds up. But merchandising helps too. Merchandising. Book Club the magnet. Book Club the coffee mug. Book Club the sweatshirt. The kids love it. We don't have a flamethrower. Book Club the flamethrower.
Or a t-shirt cannon, or
or little dolls of us.
Bobbleheads.
What is with you?
Mine will be like the critic. It stinks. It stinks. It stinks.
It's on the Criterion app.
Oh, we can get talking bobbleheads. I'll try not to give mine bitchy statements. Unless you like that.
Yeah, ours would be like, sign up for Patreon. One of the things that we say all the time.
Book Club the book, Book Club the movie. All good ideas.
Book Club the book. Book Club.
Yeah, we could just make a printed book saying these are all the movies we watched in the last year and little write-ups on each of them, and then get some publisher to do it.
There might be an option where you can get our logo on a notebook too. I'll see if that's an option. Anyway, if you're interested in, I'm buying stuff. I already bought stuff. I definitely spent a lot of money today on my own things.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my life is. Anywho, I hope you all enjoy the New World. Again, it is a longer film, so make time for it. Hopefully you can watch it commercial free because it's already long. If possible, watch the extended cut, which is even longer. You're going to be sitting there for 3 hours of beautiful Virginia scenery and Colin Farrell. And I think one of his hottest films, personally. Samir prefers him with shorter hair. I prefer Colin Farrell. No matter what he does. So.
Even in The Lobster.
Yes. Even in The Lobster. Even when, yeah. Anywho, thank you all for joining today. We'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all of the new viewers we had today. Thank you for the comments. Thank you. You really love us. Yeah, we'll see you all tomorrow. Same time, same place. Hope everyone has